Metro, how we doing? Let's go, Houston, wake up. It's Tuesday. This is amazing. I love being back here. This is home, as Kylan said. Every time I'm back here, I kind of cry. I'm just going to admit it. I start to cry every time. I'm like, what has happened? I used to be just in the back over here. I used to sneak in as a 17-year-old into Metro, and I just was like, I just trying to figure out what does it look like to follow Jesus as just a high school student, which I know isn't really allowed. And if you're a high school student, you're not supposed to be here. But that was me a long time ago. Back then, I had hair. So it's really good always to be back. For those that don't know me, my name's Dale. As I said, I grew up here. I ended up moving to Waco to go to school at Baylor University, Sikkim. And there we go. All 6 of us are proud to be here. And then I went to Dallas for a year, and you know what happens in Dallas, right? It's just not for us Houstonians. And so I left immediately. It wasn't for me. And so I moved back to Waco, and I've been there ever since, getting to be working with college students. But I get to come here every once in a while, and it's such a joy because, again, I got to grow up here, and so, but let me just let you in on a little bit of a secret, and I mean that sincerely. Something new has happened in my life since I've been here last, even as I taught at First in June, one Sunday in June. Since then, I've gotten married, which is amazing. Praise God. Honestly, a miracle. 29 years. I was an expert on singleness. I need to come back, Kylan, and I need to talk about singleness. I love it. And even though marriage is amazing, I now better understand how both are a gift, as Paul says. And so anyways, that's another sermon for another day. I don't need to, I'm ADD, you'll find that out. And so since then, I got married in September, and then this is where you really can't tell anyone. And then since then, my wife has gotten pregnant. And praise God, which is amazing. It's such a gift. I will admit, unplanned, but which is okay. God control, that's what you get for God control, not birth control. And so we're like, we trust God in everything. Like he's in control. And then it's like 2 months in, we're pregnant. And it's not just one. It's 2. And so it's amazing. Y'all are clapping. And it's been a wild ride. And yesterday was actually a really important appointment. I probably wouldn't even have started by telling you that early on. You know, it's very, very at risk. Miscarriages, there's so much challenges to pregnancy that I truly didn't know. As a single guy, I was an idiot, okay? And so I just didn't understand this stuff. And I start with that because yesterday we had this appointment. And the whole day, I'm like a pretty chill dude, I promise. Like super relaxed. I love to hang out. But yesterday, it really messed me up, you know, because there's this thing about twins and really just like pregnancy in general, where I'm like, I have no control, which it's the weirdest thing in the world. I'm like, I literally have no control. My wife doesn't even really have control other than like she needs to eat healthy and not like drink alcohol or something like that. Like she has a little bit of control, right, in pregnancy. And I'm like, I can pray over them and I can try to listen, but I have no control over those twins. And again, it really is kind of on the DL. We're still pretty early on, but I say that because I was praying more than ever yesterday. And it drove me to dependence. And it was funny. I'm like, well, I'm coming to Houston to talk about dependence on Tuesday. And so it makes complete sense. And you might not be pregnant or expecting if you're married. And you're probably like my buddy Jimmy, who's here, who just moved to Houston. He's single, and he better not be expecting, okay? And it's okay, but like Jimmy's here, he's single, he's not expecting. And so Jimmy is like, whatever, right? Like it's not a big deal. Dale doesn't have control, whatever. But the reality is like there's other things recently that have helped us realize that we're not in control, right? Do y'all remember like a couple of years ago when it rained really bad in Houston? What are those things called? Hurricanes, right? Like that's a disruption, and it was terrible. It's challenging. And then there was this pandemic. It was disruption in our lives. We don't have control over those things. Like we actually have zero control over those things. And then I don't know if y'all remember last year. This is kind of the weirdest thing that we don't have control over. We don't have control over our electricity. Y'all notice that? When like the whole state of Texas went off the grid. Did that happen to y'all? Only in Waco? Yeah, that happened to y'all too. Okay. Did y'all notice that we weren't in control? In all these moments, some of those disruptions are challenges. So I don't want to make fun of them. And I honestly don't want to make fun of unexpected pregnancies either. If that's you, I'm so glad you're here tonight. But those disruptions are really, really good moments for us to realize we're not in control. And in fact, if you're here, you don't believe in Jesus, you don't believe in this Bible thing, you have to explain who's in control. And I honestly think even back in the day, like one of the beauties of like a lack of technology and a lack of electricity and a lack of all that other stuff is like if the weather was bad and we didn't have a crop, what do? People hit their knees. And they were like, Lord, will you provide daily bread? We need you. And so tonight we're going to look in the scriptures at John 15 as it was read. And we're going to look at how God is a relational king that we can depend on. And I'm a very simple person. We're going to look at one verse, John 15:5. We're going to sit in it the whole night. I want you to memorize it. I want you to know this. I want you to love this verse. I love this verse. I have loved this. This is like probably one of my favorite verses in the entire Bible. And what you need to know is that these are Jesus' words. And I want you to just put yourself at the table with Jesus. Like he's talking to his disciples. He's about to leave. There's about to be a disruption. Jesus is going to leave them. And he's like, hey, it's okay. Here's the way forward. And he gives us this final discourse. It's in the book of John, and we're going to pick up near the end of it in verse 5. Jesus is speaking. I am the vine, and you are the branches. So this is the casting of characters. Jesus is saying he's the true vine in this text, which would have been him talking about Israel. Israel was the vine, and he's saying, I'm the real vine. I'm the vine that can be perfectly faithful. He's saying, I am the vine, and you are the branches. Who is you? It's the disciples. It's Jesus' disciples. And so as followers of Jesus, we too are disciples. Did y'all know that? Like, y'all understand, like, disciples are followers. They're learners of Jesus. And that's us too. And so Jesus is saying, hey, I'm the vine and you're the branches. My disciples are branches. So I brought a branch all the way from Waco. I wasn't sure if y'all had any branches here in Houston. This is a real branch out of my backyard. This is us. Right? Thanks, Jesus. He's saying, like, I'm the vine and you're a branch. Like, your whole job is just to stay connected to the vine. That's us. That's our only job. Like, that's what we do. We stay connected. Jesus makes it very simple. I am the vine, you are the branches. Which brings me to my first point tonight. And I don't really like points, but this is for that girl that really likes to take notes and likes the points. This is for you. Christ is our source of life. He's our vine. We're the branches. Let's keep reading in the text. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. I want us to sit on the word whoever. He's saying, whoever abides in me and I in him, they can bear much fruit. Whoever. Whoever. What does whoever mean? Does Jesus really mean whoever? Like anyone? Whoever? no matter if you're rich or you're poor, no matter if you're beautiful or you don't feel beautiful, no matter if you're socially gifted or zero social gifting, no matter the color of your skin, whoever, no matter how many followers on Instagram, no matter your fashion style or lack thereof, no matter if you make $10 an hour or $10 million a year, whoever. That's kind of cool. Whoever abides can be used by God. Whoever. That's you and I. Whoever. God can use murderers, see David. God can use somebody that sold his brother into slavery, see Judah. God can use people with sexual past, see Rahab. All of these people were in the lineage of Jesus. Whoever. God can use whoever. And I just want to take a moment to apologize on behalf of the church and on behalf of leaders that so often, for the sake of marketing, we've put some people on the stage sometimes that are like sculpted by God and extremely athletic. And I'm talking about Tim Tebow. And there's nothing wrong with Tim. He's awesome. God has used him in an amazing way. And it's just like, yeah, when I see that, I'm like, yeah, God would use me in a cool way if I was the Heisman Trophy winner and I was on TV every week in the SEC network. That's when God would use, no, whoever. God can use whoever. God can use Tim, and God can use you and me. I'm bald. God can use me. And it's funny, it's easy to laugh about, but as I was driving in here, across I-10, there used to be this little club. And I remember practicing sin before I knew Jesus across the highway from this church. And I was with some guys on my team, and I was like, man, I remember I made, honestly, like one of my biggest mistakes in my entire life I made across that highway. Can God use me? God can use whoever. God can use you. And I can feel this, like I feel that pressure to wear Lululemon and look cool, and I'm just sorry for the times that me, and Kylan's a better leader than me, so he would never do that. But I'm sorry for the times that leaders have done that. God can use you. Whoever abides can be used by God. So we keep going in the text. Whoever abides in me, in Jesus, and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. So what does it mean to abide? I love that the translation that was read said remain. That's what abide means. It means to remain. It means to continue. It means to stay connected. I like the word abode. Y'all know that old school word that we haven't heard? Like since we were a kid reading these folklore tales when we were in elementary school, and they went back to their abode, right? Like something like that. Like that's the last time we heard the word abode, but that's home. Like abiding is like being at home with Jesus, like remaining with Jesus. And so that's what it means to abide. And this is why people say like Christianity isn't just a religion. This is how Christianity is a relationship. We're talking about literal king. Christ is a relational king. He wants to be in relationship with you and with me. He wants to remain with us. It's not just like a one-time thing. He wants to stay connected to us. And this is the crazy thing, is that you can be really moral and even have like Christian values. You can even teach the Bible. You can even know the Bible really, really well and truly not be in relationship with Jesus Christ. He's saying remain, relate to me, and stay relating to me. Just think about it this way. Have any of y'all ever seen those kids on leashes at malls? It's the craziest thing that has happened this century, right? But it's hysterical, for one. Can only laugh. I think I got a picture. There it is. You're just like, that's us, abiding, right? We're just staying connected. But that's what we think of. That's what we think following Jesus is like. It's just this leash. No. Abide in me. Whoever abides in me and I in him. It's mutual. Jesus isn't a leash holding you back that you stay connected to. Jesus is our relational king that we get to walk with. We are connected, but it ain't a leash. We abide, we continue, we remain, we stay connected. But so often we minimize being a Christian to be like raising a hand and saying a prayer, doing this particular thing. When it's that, but it's like, it's dying to yourself in that moment, acknowledging that God is who he says he is. Confessing with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, believing in your heart that God raised him from the dead. It's doing that. There's that salvation moment, sure, but that's like every single day. It sounds weird, but I'm like, raise your hand every day and say, I am insufficient to cover my sin. I need Jesus. I'm dependent on him. Every day we die to ourselves. I would even kind of venture to say, like, you could pray that prayer every day. Lord, I need you. Would you forgive me for my sins? Like, that would be an accurate way to view abiding. You are my God. I need you. That's what it looks like to abide, to stay connected. We've minimized it to raising a hand, saying a prayer. It's a relationship. We have a relational king. And then what happens? This is amazing. What happens as we relate to Jesus is whoever abides in me, whoever is connected, he it is that bears much fruit. Second point for those note takers. Whoever abides bears much fruit. Whoever remains, whoever stays connected is going to bear much fruit. They're going to be really fruitful. Like, it's not going to be a leash holding you back. Like, your life is going to be filled with fruit, which begs the question, what fruit, right? Like, that's just the natural next question. There's a lot of things that we can say are fruits of following Jesus, abiding in Jesus. I want to focus on two tonight. I think there are two you can easily start with. Here are the two. One is the fruit of the Spirit. Like, does your life have the fruit of the Spirit? What is that? It's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And usually I miss one. Did I miss one? No, that's good. We got it. Let's go. Fruit of the Spirit. Like, is that in your life? Like, you're meant to bear much fruit. You're meant to be filled with love, filled with joy, filled with peace. Does that mark your life? That's the fruit we're meant to bear. Bear much of it. Not just a little bit of joy, much joy. I don't even know what that means, but I like it. I want that. We need that. The world needs that. And the second thing, the second fruit, is the fruit of discipleship. Are you multiplying? Like, are you sharing your faith? Are you discipling others in the faith? Mark 4 talks about the word of God scattering, being planted. Like, are you teaching other people God's word? Say, hey, follow me as I follow Christ. And he says what happens when we teach other people God's word, like we bear fruit 30, 60, 100-fold. Like, we make disciples. of all nations. The fruit of discipleship. Does that mark your life? And so it begs the question, if you're a note taker or anything, I just want you to think about, are you bearing fruit in either of these two ways? The fruit of the Spirit, or reproducing disciples, multiplying? Are you? And if you aren't bearing fruit, then we can rightly just say, are we abiding? Like when you abide, you're meant to bear much fruit. So it's the right next question. If we're not bearing fruit, then are we abiding? And then I want to pause here. She read verse 2. Verse 2. Every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes. And so some of you are all in. You are following Jesus. You are abiding, and you're like, this has been a tough season. And I want you to know, it's okay. God is pruning you, which means he's trimming you so you can bear more fruit. And man, pruning hurts. Pruning hurts. That also means that if he is pruning you, that he's really near. And he really loves you. And that's why we're a branch, and these branches kind of look funky, right? Because they're constantly being pruned. And that's what life's like. I got to put my stick back. My branch, excuse me. And I think so many of us are bearing fruit in other places because we're abiding in other things. Like we're trying to find life in other things. Like false vines. Work's the easiest one to pick on. Some of us think we're doing great. I'm doing great. God's pleased with me. I've gotten 2 promotions this year. I'm making a ton of money. I've even been a little bit generous. Man, your worldly success, it's a fruit of something. But it's not the fruit that matters. And some of you are like, but people love me. I go to church on Sundays. I go to Metro on Tuesdays. Every once in a while, I listen to a podcast when I'm working out or something. We're like, people like me. They know I'm a good guy or good girl. I don't know what good guy or good girl means. But that's they're a good guy. We think the approval of others is sufficient enough fruit. I'm good. That's the fruit that I'm a Jesus follower. No, friends. This is the fruit that matters. The fruit of the Spirit, the fruit of multiplication. I would even add the fruit of obedience. And that's the difference between really fake fruit and real fruit. See, real fruit takes time to bear, takes patience. And so many of us, we like this kind of fruit. It's an ornament on a fake glass Christmas tree. And we're like, look, I got 2 promotions. God's pleased with me. Look at my perfect life. That's not fruit, y'all. Look at people like me. Hello, I'm fruitful. Y'all, that's fake fruit. That's not where life is found. And so many of us are playing this fake fruit game all the time. We're called to bear much fruit. So first we saw Jesus is the vine, we're the branches. Christ is our source of life. Whoever abides in Jesus and Jesus in him, he bears much fruit. Whoever abides bears fruit. And my last and favorite part of the verse. Apart from me, Jesus speaking, For apart from Jesus, you and I can do nothing. Third point, apart from Christ, we can do nothing. Sounds harsh. Honestly, it doesn't even sound completely true. There's plenty of people that have been enemies of Jesus, but very successful in this world. The world doesn't matter. Those ornaments don't matter. Apart from him, we can do nothing. What is Jesus really saying here? You can't bear fruit that matters if you're not abiding. Apart from him, you really can't do anything. You can't have any real significance. You can't have any real impact that lasts. You cannot do anything apart from Jesus Christ. Apart from Jesus Christ, you are wasting your life. Apart from him, we can do nothing. The issue is that we don't really believe Jesus' words there. Our natural inclination is to be like, I can do plenty apart from Jesus. I just go to Jesus in crisis. Apart from him, we can do nothing. It goes on to say, if anyone does not abide in me, he's thrown away like a branch and withers. And the branches are gathered and they're thrown in the fire and burned. That's really bad news. That's hell. But we forget that the good news is offered to everyone. Whoever abides in him can have fullness of life. It even says in verse 11, it goes on to say, we're not even going to get to it tonight. Jesus is speaking these things that my joy may be in you and your joy may be full. Like as you abide in me, you're going to bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. And your joy is going to be full. That's where life's really going to be found. In the good news. And catch this image that Jesus is using here. He's the vine. We're the branches. The Father is the vine dresser. Jesus is who has restored us to the Father. The work that he's done on the cross, his life, his death, his resurrection is what allows us to be in right relationship with the vine dresser. We were once separated, branches that deserved death, and he restored us to himself, the vine. It's the good news of the gospel. And so just like as I was reminded yesterday that I'm not in control. Like I can't control those babies' health. You aren't in control either. You and I both aren't in control of anything. We need to depend on something else. And the next valid question is like, how? How does this play out? Let me give you a few things of how to abide. How do we live in light that Jesus is a relational king? Like, how do we stay in relationship with him? How do we abide? First, some of us need to start a relationship with Jesus. It's very simple. As I said, confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. Believe with your heart that God raised him from the dead. You will be saved, and then daily die to yourself. Pick up your cross. Follow him. Ask the people around you, how do I follow Jesus? Be in relationship. So some of us need to start a relationship with Jesus. Others, we must learn to daily depend on the Lord. Verse 7 shows us that we can abide by being in God's word. So we spend time daily in God's word. Like that's a way. I call the word my lifeline. I'm like, this thing is my lifeline. I need it. If I miss a morning, I get weird. I'm like, I'm a jerk. Like 10 a.m., I'm like, I missed the Bible this morning. And everyone around me can tell. It is my lifeline. So we abide by being in the word. Verses 9 and 10 tell us that we abide in his love by obeying his commandments. It doesn't mean you always are like, man, I'm just going to obey Jesus today. I really feel like it. I'm going to do everything that all my feelings are just for Jesus. And I'm going to do all the things that he tells me to do by God's design through the text of the scriptures. And that's not the way life works. We're all going to leave here and be tempted by something that we're like, I kind of feel like doing that tonight. And you know, a way that we abide is we choose obedience over our feelings. That's a way we abide. Verse 9 and 10, we abide in his love by obeying him. Another leading indicator of abiding is prayer. All these things, they're like a trellis in a garden. You know what those things are? This is a trellis, right? The things that we put near vines, those are the spiritual disciplines. They keep the vines connected to the branches. That's what a trellis is. And that's what the disciplines are. They help us to abide. I will close tonight by honestly going full circle. Before I knew Jesus, God flipped my life upside down. As I told you, I was in sin across the highway, and God flipped my life upside down, and I started to run, started to follow Jesus. I sat over there when I was 17. I was trying to figure out how to follow Jesus, but what I got obsessed with was the way that I appeared on the outside. I was obsessed with the approval of others. And I thought my social success was just an indication of my fruit of being a follower of Jesus. Like I was a professional at social things or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's what I lived for. The approval of others. On the outside, like just have everything together, have everything look this way and this beautiful thing. Look at my ornaments. Look at all my fruit. Look at all my success. I got caught up in worldly success thinking that was coming from Jesus and that was approval from God. And in reality, what started to happen on the inside is I had a deep, deep addiction to this like social media pornography, masturbation. So outside, everything looked good. Dale's the good Christian. Everything looks good. The ornaments, look at how God is blessing Dale's life, giving favor to him, and I'm dying inside. Because nobody can see what's really happening, and I didn't understand how to abide in Jesus. I didn't know my only job is just to be a branch and depend on him. And as I learned how to abide, I started to really experience freedom from pornography and really anything that I was hiding as sin. Like I started to experience freedom from those things. Why? Not because I'm awesome. It is because I was finding victory from Jesus Christ because I was remaining in Jesus Christ. And so I have nothing to boast in myself. Apart from Jesus, I would turn to that tonight. And so I'm begging you, Houston. I remember being 17, sitting over there and feeling like I had it all together. That's what church was. Dress up, look nice, pretend like everything's okay. And I'm telling you, friends, that's not it. We daily relate to the King. We follow him. We abide in him. And as we do that, all your friends around you are going to go, she's really joyful. What's gotten into her? The next disruption that happens, you're going to lead through it and be like, hey, we can trust in God. We can have hope. They're like, what God? How do you have security through this disruption? you're abiding. You're going to bear much fruit. Let me pray that you would. Lord, I just thank you for my friends in Houston, Lord. Lord, tonight it's weirdly simple. Like, help us to relate to you. Help us to abide in you. Lord, help us to be branches. Help us to remain connected to you. Lord, I pray that you would bear much fruit in this group. Lord, I pray that like over them. If I could just lay hands on every one of you, I would. I just say, Lord, I pray this blessing that they would experience the fruit of the Spirit of the living God. That their love wouldn't just be a man-made love. It would be a divine love, like it came from the Spirit of God. That's how different this group would look as they leave here and learn to abide. And Lord, I pray for freedom over this group from any hidden sin. All because they attach themselves to you, Jesus, and you provide freedom. And Lord, for all of us in here, the skeptic or the follower of Jesus, Lord, just thank you that you're not a God who's distant. You're a God who is with us and wants to remain with us, who wants to relate to us. This is good news. Thank you, Jesus. Lord, we love you. And we need you. Help us depend on you each and every day. Not for our glory, but for your glory. May your kingdom come in Houston. In Jesus' name, I pray. Amen.
Hey, thanks for watching. To find out more about Houston's First, you can subscribe to our channel or you can go to houstonsfirst.org.